Now let's put our concepts of price elasticity of demand and supply together and try to predict what's going to happen in a market. Now suppose we look at an equilibrium and we have a supply curve and a demand curve, and something happens and the demand curve shifts. If the demand curve shifts out, we know that the price level is going to go up. But how much is it going to go up? Let's ask the question, under what conditions will an increase in demand cause a relatively small increase in price? Well, this will happen if maybe the supply curve is relatively flat, or demand curve doesn't shift very far, or maybe the demand is highly elastic. Now, we can actually look at a formula that tells us exactly how much the price is going to change. And here's that formula. We can say the percentage change in the equilibrium price is equal to the percentage change in demand divided by the price elasticity of supply plus the price elasticity of demand. Now let's use this formula to actually answer a question related to how much will the price change. Here's an example where we have an initial demand curve which shifts out to a new demand curve, and we have a supply curve. And now at the initial equilibrium, we can see that there was a price of $1 and the quantity of 100 million gallons, and we're looking at a market for milk here. If the demand curve shifts out, we can see that the price is going to go up to $1.10, and the quantity is going to go up as well. How much is the price going to change? Well, in this case, there's been a 35% increase in demand. That's how far it's shifted over to the right. And we know that because the horizontal shift of the demand curve was 35%. It went from 100 to 135. So our demand curve has shifted 35%. In this example, we're assuming that the price elasticity of demand and the price elasticity of supply are 2.5 and 1.0. So when we add these two together, divide 35% by it, we can get a 10% increase in the price level. Now what if we have a supply shift? In this market, we're going to look at shoes and the price per pair of shoes. Suppose supply decreases. How much does it decrease? It's going from 100 down to 70. So there's a 30% reduction in supply. And we can look at a formula to figure out how much is the price going to change. Now that formula is going to be very similar to the one we looked at for demand, where we're going to take the price elasticities of supply and demand, and add them together, divide that into the percent change in the supply curve, and that's going to give us the percent change in price. Here's that formula. Percent change in the equilibrium price of the good is equal to the percent change in supply divided by the elasticity of supply plus the elasticity of demand. And we want to multiply it times -1 because we're moving along the demand curve.